Hello, this is Grandmaster Gambardella with another of the 15 things I learned from the great Manny Pacquiao. Now, everyone has heard before that you don't have to be bigger and stronger to beat a bigger and stronger opponent. And they've seen that many times. But if you've actually done it in a real fight, until you have actually done it in a real fight, you don't believe it. You don't know it. You don't really understand it. Think about it. The UFC has a lot of weight classes. Professional boxers has a lot of weight classes. Real wrestling has weight classes. Why? Because they don't think a smaller, weaker man can usually beat up a bigger and stronger man, and they are usually right. But that is exactly why Helio Gracie started Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and why Jiu-Jitsu was started in the first place. Helio was a very small and rather weak man. I think he was only about 5'5", about Manny Pacquiao size, and about 150 pounds. And yet he fought and defeated men that outweighed him by 50 to 150 pounds. He even challenged the heavyweight boxing champion of the world to a fight. In his last interview before he died, he told reporters that he was unhappy that many people think that if a man is bigger and stronger, he was going to beat you in a fight. He said he invented the techniques of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to allow smaller, weaker men to be able to defeat larger, stronger men. And he and his sons and thousands of students are living proof that it works. And so is Manny Pacquiao. In the last Claudio fight, Claudio was much bigger than him and much stronger than him, and yet he beat him up badly. In the first three UFC fights, there were no weight classes and no time limits. You fought anyone of any size until someone won. And that was the opportunity for the world to see that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu would allow a smaller man to beat a larger, stronger man. Royce Gracie defeated much, much bigger and stronger men than he was, and subsequently even defeated Aki Bono, the great sumo wrestler who was 6'8", 480 pounds. Now you can't get much bigger and stronger than that. And yet Master Gracie was able to defeat him. How and why? Techniques, confidence, and many years of actual fight training and experience proved to Royce Gracie and proves to Manny Pacquiao that what he has learned works. And if he will simply remain calm and do the techniques right, he will defeat anyone in front of him, no matter their size and strength. It is really a remarkable thing to see someone like Manny Pacquiao defeat someone who is larger and stronger than them, and even scare them to death so that they're even afraid to fight back. But it's an altogether different thing to actually do it yourself. You can talk about smaller and weaker men defeating stronger men all day with your teacher. But until you actually start fighting bigger and stronger men and defeating them, you won't believe it. I've done this hundreds of times in class, teaching ground jiu-jitsu, martial arts, and in some fights in the street, and it never stops amazing me when I do it. How I do it is with technique. Technique that does not rely upon me being bigger and stronger, but rather being better trained, better conditioned, and doing the moves perfectly right, and moves that actually work, and moves I didn't just make up on the spot. It doesn't do you any good to practice techniques that look great but don't work. It doesn't do you any good to work on moves that are flashy and don't work. It doesn't help you if you can punch 10 or 20 or 30 times in a second if they don't work. It does matter if you kick the man in the groin. It does matter if you break his arm. It does matter if you hit him right on the butt. What makes you defeat a bigger, stronger opponent without using size and strength are techniques that go against his balance, his coordination, his joints, his vital organs like the eyes, ears, throats, groins, his knockout points on his head. You can only weigh 100 pounds, but if you kick someone in the groin, they will not continue fighting. You can only weigh 90 pounds, but if you bend his 20-inch arm over your knee and snap it at the elbow, he'll quit fighting. You can only weigh 110 pounds, but if you stick your fingers into his eyes, he'll stop fighting. And my friend, that's the secret of beating a bigger, stronger opponent. You fight to win, not to impress. Manny Pacquiao gave us a great example of that when he completely dominated Claudio at the last fight. The reason we have weight classes is several reasons. One, it makes the fight legal, and if the fighters were trained equally, it makes the fight competitive. But the most important reason is that it makes the fight legal. And by that it means it has rules. You can't punch him in the eyes. You can't snap his fingers. You can't break his groin. You can't kick him in the testicles. You can't break his neck. If you could, then the smaller guys can beat the bigger guys with proper training all the time. But it will result in permanent damage to the bigger guys. You can't have a competitive fight league or boxing league or martial arts league unless you have rules and regulations. And you won't have any fighters left after a couple months. And that was what was wrong with the UFC when it first started. Horace Gracie knows he can defeat a larger, stronger opponent, and Manny Pacquiao knows it because he's done it many times in fights with no rules and in the gym and in a room. No weight limits, no size limit. If he has rules and regulations, time limits, they're limiting themselves to win the fight. In the street, you won't have to abide by the rules and regulations, and you won't have to abide by time limits, and you can beat a bigger, stronger man easily by using techniques that work. The techniques of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu were specifically made to work against bigger and stronger men because they attack the joints, the balance, the movement, the coordination, the angles, and the leverage to destroy the opponent's ability to fight. They can break his elbow and he will quit. Or they can prove to him that they will break his elbow and he will. Manny Pacquiao proved that a smaller man can beat a bigger, stronger man in a boxing match when he just destroyed Clotty. And you can do the same thing too if you practice techniques that work and you believe in yourself. This is Grandmaster Gambardella. I'll see you next time.